We're at Techonomy, one of the conferences in the calendar that brings together the A-list of technology entrepreneurs, innovators, and commentators. And preeminent, or certainly prominent amongst A-listers, is Esther Dyson. Esther, are you paying attention here? What are you doing?
Yes, I'm booking a flight, of course.
You're booking a flight?
Yeah, I've been empowered by the internet to select my own seats. And
are you the world's most frequently traveled person?
no, but I'm probably in the top 1%.
How many miles do you travel a year?
I have no idea.
Over 250,000?
Yeah, I would think so.
500,000?
I don't know.
Did you see Up in the Air?
Oh yes, I loved it. It was much better than I expected. I thought it would be pretty terrible, but it wasn't.
So Esther, when you're not flying, what are you doing? When you're not booking your flights?
Yeah, I'm talking to esteemed interviewers like you. I'm interfering with innocent young companies.
Well, that sounds promising.
Yeah, I'm swimming. I'm attending conferences and making trouble.
But you're also focusing more and more on medical, right?
Yeah, health. Specifically health as opposed to medical. So yeah, I'm doing some stuff that's strictly medical, but at the same time, my real goal is to avoid health care rather than make it cheaper. So, why should you have to go to the doctor in the first place if you do your yearly maintenance? I mean, yes, you should go and get tested and so forth, but fundamentally the goal is don't get sick. And so many of the current diseases are self-induced. Obesity and everything, it leads to too much alcohol, too much drinking, not enough sleep, probably too much conference food.
Too much airline food, right?
Airline, yeah. One has to be selective.
So are you investing in companies? Are you starting out companies?
I invest in them. And so investing is kind of like having sex. And then the real time-consuming thing is...
I've never heard that one before.
The time-consuming thing is raising the children afterwards. You can invest in 5 minutes, but then you have to take this thing...
You mean that's writing the check?
Yeah, but people think, oh, what does a VC do? They pick companies. Well, that's only a very small part. The big part is
of having sex, we had a fellow on the show a few months ago, Tim Ferriss, who's written a book about the 15-minute female orgasm. So even investing can take some time, right?
Yeah, and there's foreplay to extend the metaphor, and then if you're polite, you don't just leave right afterwards. You hang around.
You mean you have a nice conversation?
Whatever. You're not supposed to smoke and you're not supposed to go to sleep, so you might as well talk.
So what does this have to do with medical?
It's avoiding medical. It is stay healthy, and then you don't need to pay for all these expensive things of healthcare. But better, even more important than that, you're healthy. You're not absent from work. You're not depressed. You're not short of breath. You can enjoy your life. And so the goal is, to my mind, much less to extend life and much more to increase the quality of whatever lifespan you've got.
I understand the idea, and it obviously makes a lot of sense. How do you build businesses around that?
Okay, so this is the cool thing. There's the market for healthcare, which is the one I keep saying I'm not really doing.
Yeah.
Drugs, hospitals, clinics, devices. There's the market for bad health, which is huge and full of advertising. It's all the advertising for all the bad food, for the nightclubs, for the booze, for the cigarettes, for all the things that keep you awake when you should be asleep. And then finally, there's a new market that's emerging, and it's emerging because of 2 new technologies. One is measurement devices like my Fitbit, which here you can't really see it in the sunlight, but
we'll show it to the viewers.
Yeah, well, trying to see, it's too bright here. Normally it would say something like 4,022 steps that I've taken.
And it reveals a lot of your. Also, it reveals a lot of your medical identity, right?
No, it's pretty specific. It reveals certain bits of your emotion, so it shows how many steps you've walked, and how restless you are at night when you're asleep. You can't wear it in the water, so it doesn't do anything with my swimming.
Don't you have fidgety leg syndrome?
Do I? No.
Yeah, no.
It's called restless leg.
Oh.
Anyway, so Fitbit is only one of a large,
Right.
and Fitbit is not, in fact, one of my companies, though I other than as a customer. But then the second part is the social networks, because information is not good enough. Just knowing I walked so much or I could walk a little more, that's kind of nice. But what you really want is motivation, and that there's a certain segment of the population that's self-motivated,
Right.
including me. But a much larger part, they need friends to encourage them.
So how do you monetize this?
It's the usual way, advertising. Again, at the high leading edge, you can charge. Certainly, the Fitbit is a device; it costs
Yeah.
about $100. But there's advertising, there's lead gen. So this market will go in three steps. First, there's people like me who actually pay for this stuff, and I'd pay.
Well, there's no one like you.
Well, thank you. I'd pay for the data service if I had to. I'd pay for 23. Well, I didn't because I'm on the board, but yeah, I would pay for 23andMe, all these other things, because I believe they work and I'm curious and so forth. Then the people who are using them are collecting data. Right now it's very siloed, though they're beginning to do group things, so I can share my data with somebody else and so forth. Anyways, we get more data, and as this stuff becomes more popular and there's at least anecdotal evidence that it works, employers jump into the game, which is beginning to happen. They say, we think it works, and we don't really care because it makes our employees happy. They feel we care about them. So we'll buy this stuff, give it to our employees, and we think it's probably going to lower our healthcare costs, and it will reduce absenteeism. We care not only about the cost of health care, we care about the cost of bad health. So we want to improve our employees' health. They're more willing to take that risk than the insurers and the governments. So the third market, which is going to be the largest, is going to be public plans and insurers and sort of the ultimate, the payers who are not interested in whether I'm healthy because I'm not their employee, but they don't want to pay for my healthcare costs. So there's going to be that progression, and a lot of it's going to be based on the data collected at the beginning by a bunch of these companies I'm investing in, showing that, especially if you bring in the social aspect, people find it easier to maintain the good behaviors, because just like the guy in Up in the Air, to me, Up in the Air wasn't, yes, it was about flying a lot, but there's also the moment in the movie you must remember where George Clooney and Vera are sitting at the bar and they show each other their frequent flyer cards.
Yeah.
And again, it's sex.
Have you ever done that?
What?
Sat at a bar and shown people your frequent flyer cards?
No. But I have pulled them out on occasion.
Oh, you have? Well, you've already done that.
And
You've got more than anyone.
Well, this is also my Oyster card from London.
Yeah.
A couple
I've
other
got one of
things.
those too.
And my Sports Club LA card.
So you're up in the air a lot.
But the point is that people, self-esteem. Imagine a card that signified that I was a Class A exerciser. When I called up Aetna, my insurance company, I had a special gold line to talk to. If I ever went to the hospital, I'd probably get a slightly better room. That really motivates people more than 20% off your premium.
That motivates people, Esther, but it's also a little troubling when people whip out cards when they meet people at bars, suggesting that they have.
Yeah,
they're in the top rung of.
Don't you know about
health.
Darwinism? I mean, it's better than a peacock tail,
Is that
right?
a world we want, though, where
yes.
when I meet you at a bar, we'll both discover
it's
that
better than me looking at the size of your wallet. Which is what it, I mean, we're talking about
you
real
want me to get
people
my wallet out?
with real urges, and oh look, there's two planes playing together. Yeah. Speaking of, they're about to mate, those planes. We're talking about fundamental human.
Right.
We need to. I mean, it's the same. How many ads for chocolate? So show a gorgeous lady lounging on a bed. Sex sells, and we might as well have it sell good health as well as bad health.
Well, finally, Esther, I know that you
But I
have.
can tell you about what some of these companies do. Which, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of what you try to do is get the human element in there so that people motivate one another, so that people feel a sense of responsibility. I'm part of a team of 6 people trying to lose weight, and the team members encourage one another and feel responsible for one another.
I can see that, and I can see some advantages, although I think
Yeah.
in some ways it's a little scary. But finally, I know that you.
I mean, again, if you're going to do behavior modification, do it in a way that, do it openly without manipulation, and do it in a positive direction. If you're going to be manipulated, it's like Cass Sunstein and Nudge. If there are going to be defaults, they might as well be healthy defaults.
No, and obviously a lot of this comes from nudge and from that sort of behavioralism. But finally, Esther, finally, I know that you're somewhat ambivalent about the current business atmosphere. You think that we're in a bit of a boom and that you're worried about that, right?
You're being overly polite. Yeah, I think it's a bubble. I think there's a lot of stuff being funded that's redundant. And
in healthcare or everywhere?
Everywhere. And I mean, like the peacock tail, I think you need some redundancy that fosters competition and people try to do things better than another. But do we really need 200 daily deal sites? It's a waste of money, it's a waste of talent and resources, because you have people being CEOs of these things who really would be a great project manager for some other startup, because people, they have this celebration of the hero entrepreneur, and it's not just the entrepreneur, it's the team. And a good entrepreneurial company hires people, that's the first thing it does, but when all these other people are off being CEOs, there's nobody to hire. So it's not good for the economy, because a lot of these CEOs' time is wasted, as is the money they get.
So what will happen?
I think it'll do the usual thing, it'll burst.
And all the CEOs will go back to being project managers?
Some of them will, and they'll be much happier being project managers because they realize, boy, it's really tough and boring being a CEO. You have to deal with all these people problems, you're responsible. And I love managing projects, or I love designing products. And some will say, gee, I learned a lot and now I'll go be CEO again, but I'll know more. So it's part of the normal cycle. It's not a horrible thing, but it's getting a little toppy right now.
Well, Esther Dyson, I want to thank you for being on TechCrunch TV, and you can go back to booking your airline ticket now. Thank you.
Thank you.